Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, with the City of Hampton's Communications and Marketing Department. And today we're going to talk about family structure. My guest is our family and relationships expert, Alvianne Lyons. Welcome back.
How are you, Robin?
What do you mean family structure?
Isn't it a funny term?
Isn't it like parents and kids? I mean, is there a complicated dynamic here I don't see?
It's actually more than just that. So because we know family is defined so many different ways these days, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the definition of what makes a family. We're talking about what makes it run well. The stuff that makes families successful. So really it is the structure that underpins the family, the values, the visions, the goals that really help to support the family. So if you think of it more like scaffolding, the support alongside of the building is what it is that we're really talking about. Exactly. What put it all together and what keeps it together.
Okay.
So that's really what we mean when we're talking about family structure. So we found some great ways to be able to have the necessary conversations, because it always comes down to how we communicate about it, in order to be able to do it well.
Okay.
So we're going to start with our H word, four-letter word. So I'm going to quiz you, four-letter word that really is connected with the place we go and we generally feel safe. What do you think it is?
Home.
Good job, Robin.
Okay.
Home it is. Okay, so let's break it down. H-O-M-E. H. We need to have the conversation.
All of your acronym, I'm starting to learn something here. They all start with communicate. It might be communicate as a C or have the conversation. But that is like always step one, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's one of the things, and I just have to do my shameless plug because you know I love healthy families and youth education and family services, but it's the one thing that is always fundamental to everything that they do. All the programs and workshops you'll participate in are really about teaching you how to have those conversations.
That's right.
So it's really fundamental when I do the acronyms for families, it's generally the first thing I start with because it is the basis of success in a family. If you can't talk about it, you can't go anywhere with it. So yes, H, we've got to have the conversation.
Okay.
Let's sit down as a family and let's talk about where we are versus where we want to be. What are our values? What matters to us as a family, and how do we want to be defined? So we've got to talk about that, and we've got to talk about it with everybody who's a part of the process. O, open it up to everyone. The success of a family is based on the collective buy-in. We all have to be about the same goal. We can't move the family forward if some of us are paddling forward and some of us are paddling backwards. We're in this boat together. So if we don't have the conversation, include everybody who's a part of the family, regardless of how old or how young you are. If grandma lives in the house, she's a part of where this boat is going.
Oh, I was going to bring that one up.
Oh, it matters.
We need to schedule a topic on that one. That's coming up next.
It matters because everybody who's there is moving this boat in some direction or another. So we want to make sure we're all paddling in the same direction. Absolutely. So that's why it's important to open up that conversation to everyone who's there.
And I think that's a little threatening for parents sometimes.
Oh, it can be.
They want to maintain the control as parents, and if you open it up, you risk losing a little of that control.
But it's a matter of perspective, because a good leader can hear the voices of all of their people and figure out what voices need to be at the forefront and what voices need to be the whispers in the back. And even as parents, we're just leaders within our own home. It doesn't mean we don't listen to the voices. What it means is we determine which ones need to be at the forefront and which ones perhaps need to be a whisper, but everybody's voice has to count.
It does.
Absolutely. So we open it up to everybody. M, make a list. When we write things down, here's what we're doing. Here's where we're going. It makes it easier for people to reference back to. Put it up somewhere. Some people have turned it into beautiful art. You know, in our household, we are a place where people forgive, where it's safe to make mistakes, where you're supported, whatever those values are going to be.
I will do that at a company retreat or a meeting, and I will forget to do it at home.
And it's important. We've got to do it because that is where we are the CEO of our homes. So you get to be the boss. Where do you want to take your family? And who's going to be involved in that process? So you need to make sure you write those things down. And it makes it easy when you get to the E, the evaluate. What's working?
What's working?
Well, if we don't remember what we said we were going to do, then how do we evaluate where we need to tweak? So if we're going to do that last thing, we need to make sure that the previous thing is there to support it. Make sure you make that list. And occasionally, whether you decide monthly, quarterly, or annually, go back and evaluate what needs to be adjusted. Because inevitably, something's going to need to be. We're not that perfect, and we're not going to be wise about everything. So we lay out a plan, we start to implement it, test it out, and then figure out where we may need to make adjustments.
This does sound very, very corporate strategic meeting. I mean, wow, it's like being the facilitator in your own
home.
Business,
and
home business.
And it is.
It's, yeah.
And if you don't start it there, where exactly are we going to start it? Home is the perfect place to invest the best parts of who we are, to test out the things that we really want to test out, and to be plugged in enough to be able to see the great results that are possible. But you know what's happening because you're a part of the process. So we start at home. Before we get to manage it and do it perfectly every place else, let's work on it with the people that matter the most.
Well, now this sounds easy when you present it this way.
Right.
It's not that easy in the real world. What are some of the things that trip people up or that make this hard to do?
The feeling that you have to get it right the first time.
Oh my gosh.
We put so much pressure on ourselves. Oh, we put enormous pressure on ourselves. And families don't come with manuals. We buy cars, they come with manuals, but the families we create don't. You're not going to get it right all the time. You're not going to get it right the first time always. Those of us who have more than one kid have figured out every single time we mess something up. And it's okay. It really is. Let go of the feeling that you have to be perfect. All you have to be is plugged in. As long as you continue to be plugged in, eventually it will work out, and you just have to trust the process. You might not see it at 12, you might not see it at 15, heck, you might not see it at 25, but believe me, eventually, if you have done everything that you can, and you've stayed plugged in with your family, it will work itself out. Will it be perfect? Nothing ever is.
Nothing is. And but you're right. We do have to let go of that.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we want, the family that's on TV or the family that's in a magazine ad.
And that's scripted.
Yes,
it's not a real.
Those are actors. Actors can get along. Right. They have scripts to follow.
And they're paid to pretend to be perfect. They're even paid to pretend to be flawed.
Yes.
So just know that we're going to do it organically as a family. And it's okay as we figure this thing out. It's okay to make mistakes.
It's okay to make mistakes as long as you have the conversation.
Have the conversation. Open it up to everybody who's a part of the process. Make a list, because it's important to write things down so you have a vision that you can look at and tweak and evaluate it. So that when you figure out that something didn't work out well, you can go back and you can adjust it. You just cycle through that process as many times as you need to until you find what works for your family. And don't feel like what works for somebody else has to work for you.
Right.
You use the principles, but the product may look different.
Well, everyone is different, and everyone's family is different.
Absolutely.
And everyone's circumstances, and what works for you in year one might not work for you if both parents go back to work.
Agreed.
Or something else changes in the family dynamic, the second child or whatever. It's a very moving target.
Absolutely, and you have to be okay with that. It will shift like tectonic plates. It's going to shift. And you just have to be prepared to shift with it. And if you add some music, consider it a dance. Dance with it. It's okay.
That makes it really seem better.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Right.
I like that. Of course, I like to dance anyway, so that's a good metaphor for me. I've got it.
In or out of the car. It doesn't matter at all.
Okay, so family structure is about what keeps your family together and what common goals you have.
Absolutely. And making sure that we have agreed on what those things are so that we are paddling in the same direction. Because families either rise together or fall together. It is impossible to love people the way that we love our families and not be affected by what happens to them, which is why it's so important that everybody who's in the boat gets to be a part of this process, because we want to move forward together.
Right. And if somebody's paddling in a different direction, it stalls.
It certainly
doesn't go anywhere.
It certainly does. So if you have 4 moving in one direction and 1 moving in the other, you're not moving as fast as you could potentially be moving. We want all 4 people who are paddling. If we agree to east is where we're going. So yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I've learned a lot.
Thanks, Robin.
And thank you for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about how to keep your family structure and your family all paddling in the same direction. Thank you for watching.